Lesbian detective. Unsolved cases. She's still missing. Yeah, they haven't found her yet. Well, let's talk about it.
They say he vanished without a trace. Could it be a psychotic break or a tragic accident? Police don't know where the body went. Unsolved murders, body still missing. That's unheard. Where's the witness? Lesbian detectives, what's going on? City on high alert, this out the norm. He did what, the who? Man, that ain't real, these crimes ain't true. Then come uncover these theories with us. We live right now, tuning in is a must.
Right now, lesbian detective. We about to start the show, so get your popcorn ready, let's go. Pay attention to the message I present to you, the lesbian detectives.
This is Lesbian Detectives. I'm Sierra.
And I'm Elizabeth.
And we are here talking about missing and unsolved murders.
We are discussing cases that you have forgotten about or never even heard of.
So sit back, relax, and let's start this podcast. Welcome back, everybody. And guys, let me tell you something. We are recording 2 episodes in 1 day. You want to know why? We're going on vacation. Disney cruise with our child. Guys, I'm posting pictures. Just know I am posting pictures. I am so excited. I just can't wait. Like, we're there for like a whole week. So trust me, these episodes going to be uploaded, downloaded. I have people making sure the episode will be released. Our social medias be done. I got y'all handled. Booty to vacation, okay? Just look, this is our hobby. But I need to be off from work, real work, that job be killing the system. And it's just time, guys. It's time, but you will still get an episode. We are not missing a week. You will still get an episode. You will still get True Crime 1 Minute. All of that is handled. I have people in the back end taking care of them. I'm stop lying. It's my family members. It's my brother. He's helping. Thanks, bro. But guys, it's going to be real. Now let's get into the episode. Tonight's story begins like so many nightmares. A quiet house. A cold night. The wind rattled the windows and shook the trees outside. A young girl sits alone, tasked with the simple responsibility of babysitting. Her only company, the faint hum of a radio and the soft creak of the old house. What should have been a routine evening of watching over a small child slowly unfold into a night of horror. The house groans with each gust of wind, each sound echoing in the silence. Every shadow seems to move just a little too quickly. Footsteps on the porch, a door left unlocked, the faintest whisper of movement where none should be, each one a warning. The young girl does what she can to stay calm, to maintain a sense of normalcy, but the tension builds with each passing minute. And then the unthinkable happens. A faint phone call shatters the night. A terrified voice begging for help. A plea cut short as the line goes dead. No one knows what is happening in the isolated house. The final call, desperate and terrifying, will echo unanswered for decades. This is a story of a night meant for babysitting, turning into a tragedy that claimed a young life far too soon. It is a story of innocence violated, of a community forever shaken, and a haunting mystery that remained unsolved more than 70 years later. This is the case of Janett Christman. Janett Christman was born on March 21st, 1936, the eldest daughter of Charles and Lula Christman. She had 2 younger sisters, Rita, only 18 months younger, and baby Cheryl. The family had recently moved from Boonville to Columbia, a college town in a tight-knit community where everyone knew their neighbors. They lived above Ernie Calf and Steakhouse, a family-owned business, working hard and earning an honest living. Janett was described as intelligent, independent, and responsible. She played piano in the church choir and was excellent in school, and often babysit to earn money for the things she wanted, like the burgundy suit she had been saving up for Easter. Friends called her kind and spirited. She was confident for her age, and she had a sense of maturity that set her apart from her peers. She was a kind of teenager who could handle responsibility, but that night her trust in people around her would be fatal. It was a brisk of Saturday, March 18, 1950. Many of Janet's friends were attending a school dance, but she had plans to babysit. She had two regular families she worked for, the Romacks and the Muellers. That evening, she would be at the Romacks' home, looking after their 3-year-old son, Gregory. Janett arrived at 7:30 p.m. The Romacks had recently moved to a home at 1015 Stewart Road on the outskirts of Columbia. The house was isolated, surrounded by trees and quiet, perfect for a family seeking some privacy, but potentially dangerous for a lone babysitter. As the night fell, the weather worsened. Rain turned to sleet. Gusts of wind rattled the windows, and trees swayed across the house. The darkness and isolation made the home feel far away from help. Every creak in the floor, every tap on the window, every shadow felt more intense. Janett settled in with Gregory. She made sure he was comfortable, turned on the radio as Annie escorted, and tried to ignore the storm outside. She had no idea that the most terrifying night of her young life was approaching. Annie, who was pregnant, reassured Janett that Gregory was easy to care for. Ed Romack gave her a brief lesson on how to use the shotgun stored near the front door. Lock the door, he told her. Turn the porch light on. If anyone comes knocking, with that, they left, expecting a quiet evening. At 10:35 p.m., Bone County Sheriff Department received a call. Officer Ray answered. On the line was a girl screaming, "Come quick!" The line went dead. The voice was genuine with fear, but the officer could not trace the call. There was no address, no follow-up. All he could do was wait, hoping the phone would ring again. It didn't. Hours later, Annie called from the Moon Valley Villa to check on Janett and Gregory. No answer. She assured Janett just fell asleep. At 1:15 a.m., the Romacks returned home. The driveway was slick with rain and mud. The porch light was on. Blinds were open. Ed reached for the door and found it already unlocked. Inside, they discovered a horror that will haunt them forever. Janett Christman, 13 days shy of her 14th birthday, was laying in the living room floor. She had been raped and murdered. A blunt object had struck her head. Puncture wounds from a mechanical pencil were visible, and a cord from an electronic iron was tied tightly around her neck. Her right slipper hung loosely from her foot. Annie ran upstairs to check Gregory, who was unharmed, still asleep. Ed called the police.
Sheriff Glenn Powell arrived with detectives and bloodhounds. Jurisdictional conflicts arose with city police, complicating the investigation. Evidence suggested Janett had resisted. Blood smears and fingerprints were found in the living room and kitchen. The back door was ajar. Bloodhounds tracked the killer about a mile from the house before losing the trail. A side window had been shattered, but detectives believed the killer was familiar with the Romacks, entering through the front door and taking Janett by surprise. The shotgun remained untouched. The murder weapon, the cord, had been taken from the house, showing knowledge of the home's layout. Janett's murder wasn't the first of its kind in Columbia. 4 years earlier, Mary Lou Jenkins, just a mile away, was found raped and strangled while home alone. In late 1949, a series of sexual assaults and home invasions plagued the area. Teenagers and college students were attacked, some barely escaping, others assaulted. Arrests were made, but many cases remain unsolved. Fear was pervasive, parents worried for their children, and the community was on edge. An investigator combed through the evidence. One name began to rise to the top: Robert Mueller. He was 27 at the time, a World War II veteran, and a longtime family acquaintance of the Romacks. Mueller had served as an Army Air Corps captain, a man respected by many in the community for his military service. But whispers about his behavior painted a darker picture. Mueller ran a tailor shop in town. Inherited from his father, he was known for dressing impeccably, always carrying a mechanical pencil in his breast pocket. But beneath the neat exterior, there were troubling behaviors. Friends of the Romacks recalled him making inappropriate, lewd comments about Janett's body, despite her being only 13. Anne Romack herself remembered a day just before the murder when Mueller visited their home under the pretense of helping with a dress, only to allegedly grope her. In her formal statement, she told the police, "He doesn't use words, he uses his hands." The timeline of the murder raised further suspicion. On the night Janett was killed, Mueller had called her to ask if she could babysit his own children. She declined, already committed to the Romacks. Later, he appeared at the gathering with the Romacks and mutual friends, but a curious gap emerged. Mueller excused himself for 2 hours, claiming he had to meet a doctor regarding his son. Police later discovered he never went to any doctor. Adding to the suspicion, the morning after the murder, Mueller called Ed Romack, offering help with cleaning up the blood in the house. A chilling move, considering the crime had not yet been publicized. Further, he openly speculated to Ed on how he imagined the crime could have been committed, describing a scenario where the killer would knock politely on the door rather than break a window, referencing Janett by name. The investigators had mountains of circumstantial evidence against him: prior lewd behavior, familiarity with the Romack home, suspicious movements the night of the murder, and his uncanny knowledge of the crime before the public could have known. No physical evidence directly tied Mueller to the murder. Fingerprints were inconclusive. Bloodhounds had lost the scent trail, and the polygraph test he voluntarily took came back clean. Police interrogated him extensively. Hours stretched into the night. Yet every time, Mueller's calm, composed demeanor seemed to convince them he might not be guilty. Legal errors, jurisdictional conflicts, and the investigative mistakes allowed him to walk free. He later moved to Tucson, Arizona, where he lived out the rest of his life quietly, dying in 2006. Some of the community remained convinced he was guilty, while officially no charges were ever filed. Other potential suspects were explored, but none had the same mix of motive, access, and opportunity. A week before Janett's death, Louis Terry, another babysitter in the area, had been approached at the door by a stranger who made her uneasy. Decades later, she recognized him in passing and felt an instinctive certainty that he could have been Janett's killer. Bloodhound evidence from the original investigation pointed towards the same vicinity, but this lead was never fully pursued, and the case slowly faded from the public eye, leaving only questions. The aftermath of Janett's murder left Columbia, Missouri, scarred, her family devastated, struggled to continue their daily lives. Her father, Charles Christman, continued to run the family business, Ernie's Cafe and Steakhouse, but the shadow of his daughter's death lingered over every interaction. Lula, her mother, lived with the pain of knowing her eldest child was taken violently, and for decades the question went unanswered. Janett's younger sisters were also profoundly affected. Rita grew up with a protective instinct, forever haunted by what happened to her sister. Baby Cheryl, who had been just months old at the time, would later learn of the tragedy as she grew older, a legacy of grief woven into the family's history. The Romacks were similarly changed. Gregory, the 3-year-old Janett had been babysitting, grew up surrounded by the memory of the night that had shattered his home. Ed and Ann eventually moved to Idaho Falls, Idaho, hoping to escape the lingering trauma. Ann passed away in 1980, and Ed lived into 2016, carrying decades of regret that justice had never been served. The community of Columbia was left with the fear and mistrust. Parents grew wary of leaving children at home alone or with babysitters. The string of assaults leading up to Janett's murder and the unresolved nature of her death served as a stark reminder that danger could come from familiar faces. Despite the passage of more than 6 decades, the case remains open. Every now and then, new leads emerge, but none have brought closure. Janett's life, bright, intelligent, and full of potential, was stolen just days before her 14th birthday, leaving a void that can never be filled. Her story continues to haunt those who knew her and serve as a chilling reminder of her vulnerability of youth, the darkness that can hide behind a friendly face, and the lingering questions that remain when justice fails to arrive. As we reflect on Janett Christman's life and death, it becomes clear the story is not just about a crime, but about the lasting impact of violence on families, communities, and the generations that follow. As we come to the end of tonight's episode, we remember the life that was taken far too soon. 13-year-old Janett Christman, a bright, loving, and independent girl whose laughter and light were silenced. On that cold March night in 1950, we think of her parents, Charles and Lula Christman, who carried the weight of their daughter's loss for the rest of their lives. Her youngest sisters, Rita and Cheryl, whose childhoods were forever marked by tragedy, and the Romack family, Ed, Ann, and little Gregory, who trusted a young girl to take care of their child, only to have their lives shattered in ways they could never imagine. 70 years have passed, yet the question remains, and justice has never been fully served. But telling Janett's story, keeping her memory alive, is a way to honor her life and ensure she is not forgotten. Tonight we remember her not just as a victim, but as a young girl with hopes, dreams, and a future that was cruelly stolen. May her story remind us of the fragility of life, the strength of those left behind, and the importance of never forgetting. Janett Christman, we remember you. This is the case of Janett Christman. Now let's get into some theories.
Theory.
Let's get into some theories. Everyone is a suspect until proven guilty. Let's get into some theories. Let's begin detectives. What type of thoughts you thinking? What theories running through your mind? I'm thinking all types of suspicion. Uncover the truth, what we can find. Witness say they saw somebody creeping out the back door. What you think they did it for? That's so crazy, I'm not sure. They found a car, where could she be? Here go another puzzle piece. Researching through your history. It's plenty unsolved mysteries. Everyone is a suspect until proven guilty. Let's get into some theories, yeah. Let's get into some theories. Everyone is a suspect until proven guilty. Let's get into some theories. Let's begin detectives.
You or me?
Go ahead.
I want to just say it's this man, but
It's this man.
it's this man. Robert, it's just too many things pointing at him. I just always hate just having one person in mind because I always feel like anybody can be a suspect, you know?
Mm.
But with this case, it's like it's all pointing at him because he seemed like a creep.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking about how scared Janett was because it was windy, all these things would happen. And they told her, hey, this is a shotgun. They already prepared her, so she probably was already on edge. And we don't know what Robert has done in the past around her because she was babysitting one of his kids like his kids. So we don't know if he was touchy with her or made her feel uncomfortable. It's this thing, I don't know if it's a book or not, but I've been reading a lot of them on Facebook. It's Tell Somebody. It's when a lot of kids are abused by family members or friends, and they're like, hey, you should have told somebody, like tell somebody what's going on. So I wonder if Janett was one of those people that went through something dangerous, because it seems like Robert didn't care who he was like filling up. He filled up Annie, his friend, wife. So it's like he didn't care. And I wish Annie would have spoke a little bit more. But I know sometimes as women we do get scared to speak up because we don't want people to talk badly of us. But it seemed like he was a creep. It seemed like he had his eyes on Janett, even calling the people house like, hey, like come help you clean up. I wouldn't offer that. I'm sorry. I wouldn't offer that. Like, I will go to the parents first and like, hey, I'm sorry for your loss. Like, I will go that route, but I wouldn't go, I don't know. Like, it's just weird for him to go that route. And like, even Ed said, he like, it wasn't out yet because they got back at like around 1:15, right? So I'm thinking about as police officers in that situation, they have the blood. Like, it probably took like 4 or 5 hours to really calm everything down. Like, search the house, get her body out, contact her parents, all that stuff happened. So I wonder, like, what time did you call and how did you get the information? Because usually the people that gossip the most, they ain't gonna be out with the information like that yet. So for Ed to say like, hey, like it wasn't out yet, it wasn't public yet. Probably only Ed, the police officers, and the parents knew what happened. So that made me question even more. And then the pencil, when they said like he always carried that pencil around, and she was stabbed with a mechanical pencil, a type of pencil that he's always carrying around. I'm like, Robert, like I'm trying not to say, hey, it's Robert, but like Robert, too many things are pointing at you. But I want to now if the police can go back and really do the research with the DNA technology that we have now, because back then it was the early 90s. They don't have the same thing. I know back then, like if they had DNA, they was go on blood type. They can't even match it to somebody. So I wonder if they can go back and look at the evidence they have, because he probably didn't have a condom. He probably didn't have a lot of things. So they had fingerprints too. So like he is deceased. I don't know if they probably, I mean, he'd been deceased for a while. I don't know if they can get anything off of him. But I feel like probably was him. I feel like he's like one of those creeps that a lot of girls knew not to be alone with him. And it's sad to say that a lot of women go through this. Like we have this creep that we all know, but you tell younger girls and your friends like, hey, don't be alone with him. Don't be too close with him. Like you warn the next girl, like, hey, go through that way because he is deceased. And I know like they can't charge him, but it could give her family closure that they need. Like it's sad that like probably the mom and dad don't know what happened to their daughter. It's been over 70 years.
Correct.
It's sad.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you. I believe it's Robert Mueller. He was making comments about Janett that were inappropriate. You know, she was 13 years old. The mechanical pencil, like you said, the fact that he was offering to help clean up and then stating how he thinks the murder might have happened, where they knocked on the front door just so they wouldn't break in. And then there happens to be another rape/murder where the suspect did the same thing, knocked on the front door. Everything is pointing to him. The fact that he was in the military, I feel like maybe that's what helped him. And that's probably why they didn't charge him. I know in the military, you get a lot of training as to not to give yourself up. You know, they teach you how to like embrace torture, or how to withstand torture so you won't say what you need to say. So I feel like maybe that's why he passed the polygraph test. And it was probably because of the training that he received in the military. He moved away, but I have a feeling it was him.
He was touchy with a lot of people, a lot of women. And she was like, you gotta also remember, I think I said this in my theory, but guys, correct me if I'm wrong. She babysitted for him a couple times. And And Ed was one of her main people, but then
The
you
romance.
have Robert. His family was also one of her people. So to me, it's like something was happening in that house before. And I always felt like I said, to tell somebody's stories. Yeah, sure, guys. It's so many out there. It's so sad. And you should tell somebody. Like, if somebody's making you like uncomfortable, like I tell my daughter, she's even 3. I'm like, hey, if you don't want to hug somebody, don't hug them. If you don't got a good vibe from them, don't be around them. Like, she's 3. I'm already putting this in her head. Even her doctor was like, she had to check, like, you know, her private area, and she told her, she was like, hey, like, I'm only doing this because your mommies are around. Like, do not let nobody else like look over here or touch you, and they're not, you know, they're not your mom. So I'm like even the doctor's like telling her like this, and I'm like, I was happy that her doctor was telling her that because she is 3. I tell her that she's 3, but I feel like she still doesn't understand because she's 3.
Going back to the romance, Ed had a gun, a
Mhm.
shotgun that he was like, look, it's right here if you need to use it. I don't know if back then everybody had a shotgun,
Mhm.
everybody was prepared for danger, or if there was a reason why he had that.
Well, that was kind of like in the middle of nowhere, so I can understand that.
I understand that, but I've been to the country too, and it's like nobody's just gonna show up randomly
Mhm.
unless they really want to target you.
Mhm.
So that was weird to me because you're in the middle of nowhere.
But we don't know, like, we don't know Ed, them background. He probably was like grew up in a dangerous environment, you know, made him.
Well, that's what I want to know is was somebody, had he always been like this or
Mhm.
was this something new?
Mhm. Well, I mean, we have a person that we think did it, and it's up to the police to really do the research. I wonder, since he is dead, one of his kids or family members must have done ancestry. Like, they must gave their DNA somewhere.
Yeah,
And
but I
then,
don't know if her DNA is still there.
yeah, but I mean, they took all the evidence, but also they said they had fingerprints. That's another thing. But it's kind of hard because Robert been to the house many times, but he is deceased, so he can't say, hey, like, I did this. I don't know. It's a lot of things that the police have to look into, but I feel like it was him or somebody she knew, because Ed told her, like, hey, somebody knocked on the door, you turn the porch light on, you get that shotgun. So they must said something to her for her to open it. She must knew.
And then he got caught in a lie. I just remembered. He disappeared 2 hours
Oh,
from the party.
Mhm.
He said that it was because he went to go see his son's doctor,
Mhm.
and later it was confirmed that he
What
did not.
Mhm. Like, did you go see a side piece or something? Did you go commit murder? We don't know. But guys, that is our case. I cannot wait for you guys to tell me your theories and hear what you think happened to young Janett. We are on all podcast platforms, so please give us that 5-star rating. Give us a like, comment, subscribe on our YouTube. Go to our social media and look at my 1 Minute True Crime, all of our stuff. I will be posting little videos and stuff on our trip, probably afterwards, because I like to stay in the moment. So that's it, guys. See you next week. This is Last Minute Detectives. Don't forget, everybody's a suspect.
So proven innocent.
Goodbye.
Lesbian detectives. Unsolved cases. She's still missing. Yeah, they haven't found her yet. Well, let's talk about it.
They say he vanished without a trace. Could it be a psychotic break or a tragic accident? Police don't know where the body went. Unsolved murders, body still missing. That's unheard. Where's the witness? Lesbian detectives, what's going on? City on high alert, this out the norm. He did what, the who? Man, that ain't real, these crimes ain't true. Then come uncover these theories with us. We live right now, tuning in is a must.
Right now, lesbian detective. We about to start the show, so get your popcorn ready to go. Pay attention to the message I present to you, the lesbian detectives.